We had to go to New York and then change for Chicago and then for Dubuque. It was a long, long trip. When he got up at night, from that moment on for 3 days, Monica was the center of attention because, you know, she was, she'd be on television, there'd be a thing about her, there'd be a, say, a cocktail party, then the opening. And I was always standing a little bit back and like, you know, yeah, and Monica made me buy a black velvet suit in from Carnaby Street at the time. So I really looking my best like a good wife. I stood there quietly.
Like a good wife.
Yeah, that's what wives do. And then someone would, some little old lady would leave. She couldn't reach Monica. They're all around her. She'd come and tell me, Mr. Corriea, I believe you're quite talented as well. And I'd really be, first, then I was, or they'd say, I believe you're an architect. I say, yes, I am. But you don't do work all over the world like your wife. Actually, neither does Monica. All I'm trying to say that I realized that wives are made small not by nasty behavior, but by kindness.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. And I wouldn't have even thought of any of this if Sandra hadn't said that. You know, she said, you're not doing it. So I became very aware of it. And then I realized that children also get their identity from their parents and are both happy and are both at the same time, they're not resentful, but they feel there must be another life, you know. I don't have to get but wives have to put up with a lot, and I didn't realize it till then. And the real thing is that people don't see you for what you are. And that's the advantage. In fact, let me do this. I'd appeal to you every time, next time you have to introduce somebody like, I remember a friend of ours never introduced Monica as my wife. He'd say, Monica Corriea, she weaves. This is Vikram Sarabhai, who was a scientist. The thing is, we should do that. We should introduce people in their own right and not try and say he belongs to so-and-so. It's a very small thing, but I think it made a big difference. One thing I should add, the pictures taken at that of Monica's hanging there, I've never looked better in my life. Wasn't a care on my face. Monica's looking like terrible because she's worried about all the television and stuff. The thing is, wives also have a good time because all they have to do is look good, that's all.
Yes, sometimes.
Education, you have been, I mean, education is just not formal education, and that is what you have looked at. Like even after doing microbiology, you go to a weaving center, you get some informal education, and you become a successful weaver. So education becomes, all kind of education is important.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yes, and I believe that you have looked at everybody should get educated in their own way, whether they are just not your sons or your daughters, but even your servants.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and, in fact, I think education has changed people's lives, and especially in a city like Bombay, which we know, you know, the peons who came to the office, I mean, they had a tough time. They'd get up in the morning, deliver newspapers, and come to the office and work, and in the evening go to evening classes. That was pretty tough. But one thing we sort of did was give them interest-free loans for the education of their children.
I see.
And it's really done those young people a lot of good, because one of them has 3 children, and the elder boy's got a job. The second one has a job with a bank. He's into computers. He has a job with a bank. He owns an apartment, and he has a car.
Wow!
Can you imagine?
And,
all in one.
And our driver, he has 3 children again, and the second son is, you know, a first officer on a ship, and I think he's going to sit. Yes, he's going to sit for an exam, and then he'll be captain of a ship. He goes all over the world, and the girl is graduated in microbiology.
How did you manage it? Used to send them for night classes?
No, every full week. They didn't leave there. In fact, I mean, they also had a pretty tough time, but they earn well enough, and then with the loans, they send their children to regular schools. The children really, you know, I guess, had a good time. But we did well. And now they're all on their own. Well, I must say the girl did microbiology, and now she works for Cipler. She has a job. So that's very good.
You feel nice when such things happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And there are great cases here in Goa too, where people really, you look at Goa, so many people have really improved. It's, in that sense, India is a success, a huge success for those levels. Very wonderful. Yeah.
So little diversion from education to films. I heard that you are a great fan of films and you watch a lot of films.
I watch old films, yeah, mostly, yeah.
Old films?
Yeah.
What kind of old films?
Oh, some of them are those old films from the 30s of Hollywood. But I've seen also old films like Devdas, but the one with Dilip Kumar, which is far better than what they produced the other day. And you know, there's some, I also watch new films. I don't mean I watch only old films. But there's something about films which are very, very moving for me, because they can tell a truth. Like especially the documentary films, the films of Satyajit Ray, the kind of truth you see in, say, Patar Panchali. He catches a face, a human face, a child, adult, and you know from the expression that which acting can never do. Acting on a stage is always a manipulation. So is films. I mean, don't fool yourself. There is manipulation in films too. But what is conveyed is a tremendous truth. So films become a great way for fighting injustice. In fact, there is someone called Anand Patwardhan who makes wonderful films. Wonderful. There's a great film which many of you may have seen. It's called The Battle of Algiers. It's about the French and the Algerians during the war. Yes. The whole thing is staged. It's made like a documentary, but it's staged. But it's a wonderful film. And there are films also like, I think you may have heard of something. Right after World War II, there was something called, the Italians made a film called, but they made it was a whole new set of films of the Italians. They had Open City, Bicycle Thief, and Monica hadn't seen them, but she saw Bicycle Thief recently, 10 years ago, and I think it's you know, the story of Bicycle Thief is a man without a job, but he's got a job, he can get a job as someone to put up those posters, you know, these big advertisements, if he has a bicycle. And he has a bicycle, so he gets the job. And he takes his little son along, and the first day, someone steals the bicycle. You've seen this film?
No.
Someone steals, it's a great film, Jessica, Victoria Jessica. And he steals the bicycle, and the whole movie is how to get that bicycle back. He and the little boy spend the whole day, and it's tiring. They go around trying to recognize the bicycle, and finally at the end of the movie, he can't find it, and he needs that job, and he tries to steal a bicycle and gets caught. And the thing is that movie, as Monica said, could be made today in Pune, in Sholapur, perhaps in Goa, you know. But I love things like that with eternal. And that's why I like architecture. It doesn't speak of very fashionable, I mean, it doesn't have to speak of fashionable things. It can speak to you of things which are deeply true and, you know, maybe narrow in their thing, but they tell you a truth. And they're eternal, I meant. They're primordial. They go beyond just being, you know, of the moment.
These are all classics you are telling us about, and there are so many classics which we also watch during IFI here, because that is the opportunity we get now. But do you watch those entertaining Bollywood films also?
No, I don't very much, no.
I mean, do you have any latest favorite actress of Bollywood?
I think we saw Katrina Kaif dancing the other day. I don't know how good she is as an actress, but it was a great dance, yeah. But that's too much.
Ma'am, you have any favorite Bollywood actor today?
Actor, yes, maybe, but for no reason except that he talks very well. He cuts a good picture. It's Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh.
He was here the other day.
Yeah.
You missed your chance.
But sir, I have heard that you yourself have made some films.
Yeah, I've made films, but it's mostly related to what I'm interested in, like that film on Bombay. I was supposed to make a film, a nice abstract film through the eyes of an architect by the films division. But I thought I would rather make a polemic film telling people what was wrong with our city. So that kind of film, like I've done other things like that. But I've never made a fiction film or anything like that.
What if Charles Corriea had not become an architect? What would he have become?
I probably would have tried to make films, I think, I would guess. Or I think, I don't know, how do you know you might...
Antonioni an architect?
Yeah, many filmmakers are architects. You know, Antonioni was an architect, a whole lot of them. There is a connection, because basically you are in films you are looking at a series of images and you're connecting them in your mind. The famous example of Eisenstein, I think, in or it must have been 21 or 2, he was a great theorist and the great Russian director. He said, you see a terrible movie in which a plane comes and bombs a house and it bursts into flames and this child is burnt in the fire or screams in the fire and they're trying to save him. He says, in actual fact, you saw a plane flying, then you saw a bomb drop, then you saw a house, some fire, and then you heard a baby cry. And he said, the plane flew 10 years ago, the bomb dropped 3 weeks ago, the baby cried yesterday, and something else. So it's how you put it together, it becomes a reality.
Wow.
So, you know, that's the essence of architecture. It's a series of set pieces, and then the thing is, you can always entertain people by changing the set, and that, like in soap opera, you know, which is, and the story goes on and on. How do you do that in a way that is holistic? That at the end of the journey, the person says, I understand now something better. And that is the problem, how to be, like in your work, John, holistic, how to bring the whole news thing together so that it makes some sense, overall sense to the listener, not just so-and-so died and there was a fire and this, no. There's a pattern to all these incidents.
In any form of art, it is.
So architecture is interesting, but the difference is that music, which is or films, exist in a linear sequence which no one can change. Once it starts, it just goes on. Architecture deals with images, which you experience walking through, but you don't know at what speed the person will be walking. So it's very tough. The musician would never play under composed music if he couldn't decide on the timing. He'd say, stop, I can't just write notes. I have to know the interval between the notes.
Right.
How does an architect do that? And then that's the difficult thing, because I don't know, I might enter this room and then decide to go out and come in again. It's like in a book. You read a book, the writer doesn't know whether you read it in one line or jump back. So that's the difference between filmmaking and architecture. Always they have a lot in common, I think.
So almost we are coming to an end of the of this interview. Now something about Goa. You have formed Charles Corriea Foundation, and the office is at Mala. What are your plans?
Oh, this center it's like an incubator. Either somebody comes up with a good idea and comes to the center, or the center themselves, the people who run it. I'm not going to run it. The people who run it will decide on a good idea and they'll choose someone to lead a team. Now on the other end, you've got the center will give fellowships. It's actually a fellowship to young architects, engineers, social workers to come and work there under the guidance of such a person, of a professional. And we've just started in September, and the first 2 projects we're doing, one is in Diwar, it's garbage collection in Diwar, which is much needed in such a beautiful island, and we'll have other people joining in. But this will all be pro bono work. It's done for just to make Goa a better place, but by motivating people who live here. There's no point in someone coming and telling people what to do. It's got to encourage people to how to be, when I was telling Sandesh the other day that about 20 years ago, before they had these digital watches, whatever they called, they had self-winding watches. Does anyone remember self-winding watches?
Yeah.
If you waved your hand, then it got wound up. And I remember once, years ago, when I was a young person,